Good evening and welcome to another edition of Face to Face. I'm Niresh Eliathambi on behalf of the Newsfirst team. Tonight we have a very special guest, a guest who needs no introduction really. He has appeared on our programs very often, but he appears in a different capacity today. I'm pleased to welcome Mr. J.M. Wijebandara, attorney at law, who has recently been appointed as the Director General Legal at the Presidential Secretariat. Welcome, Mr. Wijebandara, and congratulations.
Thank you very much.
So, you are now Director General Legal. First of all, I'd like you to explain to our viewers what that post entails.
Of course, President Anura Disanayake, he expects the due process of law to follow every process of decision making, including President Secretariat and President House. The Executive President Secretariat, and he has to take a lot of decisions, send a lot of advisors. Therefore, first and foremost, expectation of new president is to ensure due process of law. That's one of the promises that we gave during our election running and also in our manifesto. So this is to ensure due process of law will be followed everywhere.
Now, the people have, of course, for several years been demanding change, a full system change throughout the country, and that is, of course, expected of this government. And what you're saying is that, yes, changes will be brought in, but they will follow the due process of law.
Exactly, yes.
And you are the principal advisor.
Governance will be according to law. There is a constitution. Constitution is the supreme law of the country. The governors, the rulers and subjects, without any discrimination, all are subject to law. That is what we want to ensure. That's what we promised at the election. I take this opportunity to thank everybody who kept trust on us, dismissing all kind of vile and unsustainable allegations such as secular state, anti-religion things, possibly encroaching the rights of property rights of people, etc. Various allegations were there. And now while thanking all those who kept trust on us, and also I invite fellow citizens to reconsider those who did not vote us, whether those misrepresentation made by our opponents about our party and about our policy and about our vision. You have 1.5 months to rethink, reconsider, and also consider. Now this is 8-day-old president's government, and you look, observe us and come to a decision. Think rationally, and this we are at the threshold of total system change that require legislative reforms, executive reforms, administrative and executive guidance, exemplary. I mean, by conduct we have to be an example to the society. So at the moment, from the inception of new presidents taking oath, we have been showing that unnecessary expenses of government funds, zero tolerance for such, and we have been doing. Prime Minister took oath, ministers of cabinet took oath, president took oath. Of course, we have small gathering, no ceremonies, no waste of funds at any means for those things, and we were hurriedly into work. Even I remember we have 3-member cabinet at the moment. The Prime Minister herself had to visit in a half an hour to 5 ministries, including Prime Minister's office, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. No ceremonies as such as you have witnessed previously. And I mean, this is not only we are boasting, but this is the lesson, this is the conduct that we show, and this is the conduct that we expect to continue. Therefore, citizens have already picked the one arm of the government, that is the executive president, They have chosen from NPP to function the government entire mechanism. Other condition, sine qua non is the parliamentary power, and we were compelled to dissolve parliament. That is the expectation of people. People entrusted with the president, for the president to run the government. Parliamentary election and parliamentary majority is a must. I have no hesitation whatsoever. I am pretty much confident that people will endorse against NPP policy in big way on 14th of November.
Now, Mr. Wijebandara, I noticed that you drove in your same old car, your personal vehicle. You didn't drive in a Porsche like some advisors seem to have done from the last administration. I'm still quite flabbergasted over that news which came out yesterday, and the list of vehicles. My goodness me. So I'm very glad to see you're still in your old vehicle.
Yeah, those vehicles are there, those are parked, this at the cost of public funds. The maximum benefit that can be provided using those vehicles for the public betterment, those vehicles and facilities will be utilized only for that objective, not otherwise. And we have been vociferously advocating that we can provide in certain level of services even free of charge, and not only me, all our professionals who rallied around NPP, and we were, Niresh, we were in our professions, we were happy about our life. I am a lawyer, I have been in practice for 27 years up to date. So I am very much happy about my way of life and my profession. So I had no any reason to discourage about my profession. So we were compelled to think beyond that, beyond our house, beyond our children, beyond our family. Here the country is in danger. Therefore we came to politics, and also at the time many professionals and entrepreneurs, businessmen, they had to choose a party for that purpose, to come into politics and involve actively in politics. So when we were to choose a party, we considered which party is most disciplined. Therefore I have to pay my respect for those Janata Vimukti Permanent JVP. They have been maintained a very high level of discipline in the party. All the menace that people rejected, like crossing over, taking up various possessions, selling yourself for petty gains, so those things were not there within that party. Therefore, with the existence of that party, we have expand that party into the national people's power, and people has kept trust on that. They have entrusted the governance power on us already partly. On 14th of November, definitely it will be 100% governance power on us. Then we will deliver.
Well, there's just 43 days to go for the general election 2024, and of course you are confident of obtaining a majority.
Yes, pretty much confidence. Even the presidential election, and this is still normally most of the time the party who gained the governmental power, they were like more than 100 seats. Even if you analyze these results, the NPP has already got more than 105 out of that. Definitely this is going to be increased. In fact, especially for eradication of corruption, the malpractices, bribery, we are in need of some legal reforms, even to deal with the ex-politicians or ex-office holders, powers and privileges which has become undue burden on people. To remove those things also, there is a requirement of having legislative reforms. Therefore, we have already commenced these reforms. Even in fact, we have appointed 3-member commission to propose to the cabinet prior to taking decision. That's why I commenced saying due process of law will be followed everywhere. It is an expert commission headed by retired Judge Chitrasiri Supreme Court judge, and they will recommend, they will review the existing statutory law with regard to ex-president's powers, privileges, and ex-MPs and politician powers and privileges, and submit a report. First cabinet meeting held yesterday, we have taken a decision to appoint that was announced today, and they will work in within a month. Definitely that report will become, this is not like commission, just I found at President office, Niresh, number of commission have been appointed, say if you don't go much older days, but 2015 up to days, and expenses also set up, Secretariat set up, commission concluded, payment made for those involved, nothing has happened thereafter.
Just a report.
That's a report.
Just gathering dust.
Yes. Now these days we are reading it, if we can gather anything, and if whether criminal mechanism is possible to set in motion, definitely will be setting in motion the criminal proceedings against those.
Excellent. Speaking of the privileges of ex-presidents, prime ministers and MPs and so on, looking at it objectively, it seems rather ridiculous that an ex-president, however important a president may be, for an ex-president to have hundreds of staff seems to be rather silly. I mean, I can understand 20 or 30, for security aspects.
Our policies, we don't have any political anger towards any ex-president or ex-politician, and all those who contested against Mr. Andrakumar Dissanayake and lost, we have no anger or animosity whatsoever. But when it's come to security of ex-presidents or the incumbent president, incumbent prime minister or cabinet or minister, we have to assess the risk. That's what we announced today. We will assess the risk irrespective of whichever party they belong. Based on the risks only, the public fund will be expended for, allocated for those security personnel. If there is anything need, certainly without any discrimination whatsoever, will provide. So risk factor will be calculated every month. Based on that only security. Otherwise, no women fancy. Should be given 160%. No, that is no more. Now we have put a full stop for such things.
And this is at a time, Mr. Wijebandara, when the police department has been crying out that it is lacking personnel to investigate ordinary crimes, because something like 50% of the police force is deployed for VIP duties, which is quite ridiculous. Ordinary MPs, former MPs and so on have been just sucking up the state resources. Yes. And we are bankrupt after all. We don't have such resources.
We have actually already done. If you look at the President's Security Squad and the Prime Ministers and 3 ministers, some may say that we have only 3 ministers, we need a small group. Yes, but even if it goes up to 25 or less than that, still this policy will remain, and most of the police officers already sent back to their respective divisions to do their public duties instead of just hanging around ministers' bungalows or politician bungalows and doing some even domestic work for some time. It is kind of an insult for them also. Therefore, that's already done. It is in operation now. Based on the risks only, we will deploy security personnel to politicians, whether they are incumbent or retired.
In addition, Mr. Wijebandara, I think from my personal point of view, it's not just about state resources. It is also the ability of a representative of the people to be able to walk among those very people. Because what happens, what has happened is that you get into parliament and you become a minister, you abuse your powers, and then you're afraid to walk outside. without half a dozen security people and a couple of defenders and so on.
Exactly, and what is Anur Kumar Disanayak and Harini Hamarsi shown these days. I mean, when you go for book exhibition or whatever it is, even go to a school, I mean, that has shown. Even we have given instruction to all the principals of national schools. No more politicians should be invited for these school activities, and that also we have not set up clear guidelines for that. We will be doing that is expectation if there are highly regarded personalities in society, maybe all boys,
role models,
yes, all boys, all girls, or other characters who have excelled in particular area,
like sports and business and so on.
Etc. So then, what is the lesson that school inform should be given? Whom should be shown? Otherwise, you know, if we just say people going with the number of vehicles and violating traffic laws, and are those the people that students should follow?
That's not the role model.
That's not the role model at all.
Absolutely. Let's talk a little bit about this immunity issue. Now, while a president, an executive president is in office, that president is pretty much immune for all decisions he or she takes, apart from, I think, the fundamental rights aspects of citizens. But once the president leaves office, that presidential immunity is much less, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, he only during the time that a particular person hold office, the immunity operates. Thereafter, immunity is not applicable. Even now, whatever, even the Easter Sunday attacks also, if there are a particular person who had been discharged because of the fact that he or she became president of the country, not only one instance, I remember even high court cases, some persons were discharged. So that also will be looked into. The proceedings will continue since they are no more in the office, so it is permitted by law. That aspect also being looked into at the moment.
So the long arm of justice will reach out.
Certainly.
It may be delayed, take a bit of time, but it will get there.
Not delayed, yeah, bit of time. You know, the situation is that we are compelled to have the parliamentary election, so that we had to dissolve parliament, no other option at all, nowhere. And also you see there are various suspicions so casted whether international community work with this government, with Anur Kumar Disanayak, all the diplomats, some of them have visited the president and initiated dialogues with him, and the IMF also has indicated that they will visit soon. So I mean, it is with the Sri Lankan government, not with any individual. That's what we have been telling, advocating during the running time for the election. So that has come truth now. So what is wrong is before the citizen who advocate wrongs, who misled public also in front of the people, then you can realize who told truth and who had not been telling the truth. So that also be possible. Leave it up to the citizen to decide. And also this government is government of citizens. It doesn't belong to one particular community or religion. And also people's religion and cultural patterns or affairs or behavior, the state has nothing to do with. It is absolutely and exclusively up to the people according to their wishes. So we will not be intervene at all in those areas, and it is a duty of the government according to the constitution to ensure that Buddhism given the foremost consideration, same time while other religions are also equally considered. So that is the law, so we'll follow that law. No reason to suspect anymore. Even prior to the presidential election, this is not the story. I mean you in this forum also there are many debates whether we are going for secular state, no religion state, the Dalda Perara, whether it will be held or not. Now the time for those who genuinely misunderstood our policy or suspect now rethink We are not that. We have already shown only this 8 days old presidency. So look at us, observe us, and think.
We are in conversation with Mr. J.M. Wijebandara, Director General Legal at the Presidential Secretariat. We will cross over for a short commercial break now. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
ICC Women's T20 World Cup 2024. Match between Bangladesh and Scotland. 3rd of October, 3 p.m. onwards. Live on TV1. Also, watch it online on www.sirasatv.lk.
මොකද ප්‍රින්ස් මේ හරියට නිකන් හොරෙක් අල්ලගෙන හොරාගෙන් ප්‍රශ්න අහනවා වගේ දිගින් දිගටම ඔය අපෙන් ප්‍රශ්න අහන්නේ මලවිකා
මොකද්ද අන්න සර දුම්කුඩු දෙක
මේක සැර වුණාට ගොඩාක් හොඳයි
प्रिंस මං කවදාම හරුවාට බොරුවක් කළා තියනවද
නෑ මැඩම් කවදාවත් මට බොරු කියලාත් නැහැ බොරු කළාත් නැහැ
वाव मैडम
අද රාත්‍රී 7:30ට
සිරස ටෙලිතිරයෙන්
විසේකාර හැඩකාර දඟකාර ලඳුන්ගේ විස්මිත දක්ෂතා අලංකාරය දකින්න 2024 ICC කාන්තා T20 ලෝක කුසලාන ක්‍රිකට් තරඟාවලිය ඔක්තෝබර් 3 වෙනිදා සිට 20 වෙනිදා තෙක් එක්සත් අරාබි එමිරාජයේදී පැවැත්වෙන තරඟාවලිය සජීවීව දකින්න. තරඟාවලියේ නිලදේශීය විකාශය TV1 ඔස්සේ බලාපොරොත්තු වන්න. සියලු තරඟ සජීවීව www.sirasatv.lk වෙබ් අඩවිය ඔස්සේද නැරඹිය හැකියි.
Welcome back to Face to Face. My guest tonight is Mr. J.M. Wijebandara, who is the new Director General Legal at the Presidential Secretariat. Mr. Wijebandara, let's get to some very contemporary issues. Now, today I think you were in court on this passport scandal, which is just absolutely shocking when a government fails to issue passports to its citizens. There's something definitely wrong. But what is the situation? Because the Supreme Court is also involved in this, I believe.
Court of Appeal.
The Court of Appeal, rather.
That is a
yes.
various classic examples of mismanagement, inefficiency and maladministration. Now, we want to reform system, upgrade system, digitalized system. So it is fine to introduce the passport with a chip system. And also there are another category that we are already in use is N-series passport system. So government wanted to do it, that's fine. We are not finding fault with that to start introducing new system. But what has happened? I mean, it's shocking when we took copies. The normally prior to this maladministration crisis of passport arisen, per day 3,500 passport had been issued for the people, those who come in need. They want to go for medicine, health facilities, and Middle East workers visit their respective children who are in abroad, so various reasons, business and so many needs. So then they have, you know, neglected, like this is almost like, you know, collapsing economy or, you know, failure in Easter attack. You know, you won't believe now the country or the system that have been issuing 3,500 per day, because of this crisis they had reduced it per 1,000 per day. Now we are only having copies of passport to be printed 13,000 odd at the moment. 13,000 odd. Then per day issue it only sufficient for 13 days.
13 days.
13 days from today. So what have we been doing? So then we had to face. We are not making any allegation. So we have to face. We will ensure. Even today there was a, because of the tender procedures and so many things, there is a case filed by Court of Appeal by some you know, those who have been awarded or not awarded tender. and there was a stay order issued, and then Honorable Attorney General submitted the court, and we show the difficulties faced by. We want to ensure this thing goes smoothly, so we needed at least 7,500 passport for in midterm. So even court recognized the needs of the day, and they varied it and permit the new government to go ahead with obtaining passport to meet this crisis. At the same time, we want to review the tender procedure and all that. That also would be done, but we can't just say that that is, I've been telling previous, no, this is the fault of previous government, that government. So we don't expect to say that. We will act fast, and we will ensure that this passport will come and the immigration office function to provide the people's need smoothly.
Now, of course, this presidency, this government is only 8 days old, but in these 8 days, what I have seen personally, and what most people do agree with, is that there is a renewed faith in the system, faith in the law, that the law would operate, and the passport issue, the visa scandal, all those are examples of this.
Yes.
Now, getting to the arrival visa problem, for months this was going on. I think for a good 3 or 4 months, this nonsense where tourists who fly 10 hours, 11 hours, then have to spend 3 hours in a queue. That's no way to welcome people to our country. You're absolutely ensuring that they won't come back, and they'll tell all their friends also not to come to Sri Lanka. And this matter, of course, was quite scandalous, went to court, and the Supreme Court actually issued an order. But that order was pretty much ignored. But as a result of that,
the immigration control is in remand now.
Yes.
Can you believe the officers? He would not have been acted alone. There would have been arm behind that.
It's unprecedented.
So, yes, that term is. However, the state officer is in remand. And also there is some psychological change also during these 8 days. Some appointments not wait. If the people tend to allegation and reveal that these are wrong, I think 3 or 4 people resign. That's kind of psychological change. The people adapt in the system, and if you cannot pace, you withdraw from that. Otherwise, previously when you are held accountable, but still you hold the position, ignoring what the society expect, how the people view about you, this thing, they don't care. But here now, this caring part also gradually building up.
So you're referring in a way to the aspect of whistleblowing, where when an official has committed some illegal act,
even allegation forthcoming also, that there's a tendency that okay, fine, I will withdraw.
Yes, so because in the past, such officials just tended to sit there and not move.
Yeah, and that's a due respect to the people.
Yes,
people's mandate, and it is a respect to the people, not only for the NPP government or NPP party. It is the respect of the people, because people voice. Now it is seen that they have endorsed particular policy. So even the government officials has to stick to that policy.
So this will definitely encourage people to speak up when they see some issues.
Yeah, with a sound reasoning, right? Otherwise, there are likes and dislikes also. That's another experience. Where, when particular person is appointed, there are people within likes and dislikes. But if there are no concrete allegation, of course, we cannot consider that. That's why I come in. The due process is that you have to give the hearing to both parties and see that particular allegation has some sound basis or not. If it is, certainly action will be taken.
Absolutely. But if I may go back to the example of the vehicles, well, when the Presidential Secretariat was purchasing a Porsche and so many other hundreds of other super luxury vehicles, no one at the Secretariat seemed to feel that confident enough, basically, to blow the whistle on this. Exactly. and speak up in public, which perhaps it's understandable, but it's also frustrating, isn't it, that nobody said anything all these years.
And also for financial facilities also, certain vehicles had been purchased, and there are certain pending cases before the Commercial High Court. Instead of some reputed, finance institution, they have provided financial facilities. President office has purchased for a huge amount. That is being litigated in courts at the moment. So we have to face those things also. That maybe we have to follow the laws and follow any institution or citizen contracted with the state. It is act as a good father to everybody. Therefore, their right also has to be considered.
Now let's look at another contemporary issue which is boiling at the moment, the scholarship exam, where some or all of the papers have been leaked, and now this is causing an immense issue, because this is the exam where parents pin their hopes on getting their children into the so-called good schools in the big cities, and if these papers are being leaked, which there's no doubt now. Well, shocking, but it's not surprising either, is it, in Sri Lanka? Yeah. Papers do get leaked, but now, of course, there is a process going on.
And that has been, as far as I am aware, I mean, President Secretariat told me cannot say that we will punish the people. We are not the people to punish. There is a mechanism. I know that mechanism is set in motion. This is fully investigation gated. Culprits are arrested. So investigation is almost completed as far as I am aware. So they will be dealt according to law without delay. We wish if police take action to dispose entire this thing prior to end of this year, to punish the people. If there is a possibility, I hope that they are also now encouraged to act according to law and act fast. I think police at the moment acting very fast on this issue, and also there are claims that you have to have the exam again or not. That's a psychological and sociological issue. Unlike A-level or O-level, these small students, should they face another exam? Those are the policy matters that we need to taken into consideration in remedying this situation. Situation would be remedied. Nobody will be prejudiced as a result of that, whoever who did it. We are at the moment running the government. Minister of Education is the
Prime Minister.
Prime Minister. So then she will look into this matter and resolve this in a more suitable way, without letting any student be prejudiced as results of this crime. At the same time, criminals will be punished.
Excellent. And this will, of course, no doubt send a message, a very clear message to all those who are involved in this leaking of exam papers, records, because we see this in the O-levels, A-levels and so on. And it's been going on for decades. And I know O-levels, there have been several years where the papers, or some papers, had to be redone, and hundreds of thousands of students have to then go and resit that paper. So that's a huge cost to the state.
Yes, exactly. And then if you have to redo the exam, and it's a totally a press exam, and then also look at the cost on the part of the state, then what about these small kids, after the exam they go and play, exam is over and I'm happy now, then they will forget everything. I mean, this is grade 5 student asked to sit twice. I personally, this is not the policy, I personally think that that's also kind of unbelievable thing. I think it should not happen. Anyway, proper policy decision would be taken in due course.
Now let's get to the investigation of some of these major scams, and Sri Lanka is not lacking in scams and scandals. We had the sugar scam, the garlic scam, the bond scam, you name it. You name a
All
product,
scams,
we've had a scam. It's quite amazing. Something like garlic, you don't think there'll be a scam on it, but there was. Now the bond scam itself, I think the investigation has been reopened by this government.
And also interesting, as far as I know, once I assume this office, there is a commercial high court case proceeding against particular wrongdoer pertaining to central bank bond scam. We are going to recover that certain amount of money. That case is almost at the tail end, and we spoke with the Attorney General Department, and we encouraged them to go ahead with these proceedings and dispose at least some recoveries on the card very soon.
That's excellent, because all this is very costly to the state, I mean, to the taxpayers. And we're talking, each of these scams is in the tens of billions of rupees. And you have the Sri Lankan Airlines Airbus scandal, and then of course the Express Pearl sinking, all these
immigrations,
so many scandals. And if these scams hadn't happened, probably we wouldn't have gone bankrupt at that time. We might have gone bankrupt further down the road because the government policies were wrong. But it's a shame, isn't it? That
this is a path to recovery. First, you have to collect whatever possible within this with a short period, and also you have to minimize unnecessary expenses. I mean, you have to keep zero tolerance for unnecessary expenses. We are not a country being declared as bankruptcy. I mean, can we just have public functions with so much of expectation? What are type of problems like health problem, medicine problem, and even if some commissions are previously taken, I mean, at least if somebody offer for a particular project commission, why can't have it, get it and have a fund to contribute, so those who are in need of surgeries or something, some payment. I mean, this is not like poverty relief, but there are people in need. Even some well-to-do people also face it very difficult to pay an unexpected surgery or something. If a government has a kind of social security funds, that is what we are aiming for, to have such, and then ensure that it's public social security to every citizen. So that also been considered at the moment. So even cabinet has no life more than 1 week. So, and also this is a pact that we have to pay for the election. So mostly election also will be concentrated during coming days. Same time, what is possible by the president maintain very clear difference between his election campaign and his role as a president. That's also another thing. You have to wait and see. He has very clearly said this political party affairs and the president's affairs. He has totally clearly separated, and he will run the government, and also same time he is capable, he has the strength to run the election also.
So we're not going to see any misuse and abuse of state resources like Air Force helicopters to fly to particular rallies and so on.
Since you remind me, unfortunately, in one of the channel, a professor attached to a particular university said, President Disanayaka, he took oath in the morning. He had to visit to Talda Maligawa. He went by road. And this particular professor or a channel saying that without any basis, he has gone by a helicopter. I mean, it's still this kind of myths, wrong information should not be given. That's maybe freedom of, but even freedom should be, there is a limit. That doesn't mean that we are going to limit the freedom of speech.
Well, that's
we are inviting
misinformation. Isn't
misinformation is pathetic. Even it's one of the popular channel telecast that program. I mean, can you believe that? Do you have any information that president has gone to worship Dalda by helicopter?
Absolutely not.
So,
at Newsfirst, of course, we double check all these facts before we put that out.
Even after the election, people giving this mandate, still some quarter say these things. I mean, that should not be. Anyway, it won't take us anywhere, this kind of misrepresentation. Of course, rational criticism, that's fine. Or proposals, constructive proposals, we always welcome.
Now, Mr. Wijebandara, when you're looking at these scandals, all these scams, the ones which are fresh, like the passport, the visa, and so on, of course, those are easier to investigate. The documentation is there, witnesses are there, and so on. So easy to investigate and prosecute. And of course, you have the bigger scandals, such as the bond scam, which are so entrenched in the minds of people that yes, you will investigate those definitely. The Easter Sunday attack, the bond scam, and so on. But how far back can you go and will you go? Because, I mean, if you go back to, say, the 1990s or 1980s, there are scandals back then as well. But it's going to be very difficult to collect evidence because the documentation may not be there anymore, especially in the pre-digital age. It's physical documents, so they may be missing by now. And of course, witnesses may not be around.
Yeah.
So, practically speaking, how far back can you go?
Actually, according to the one of cardinal principles applicable in criminal laws, where the criminal liability is concerned, 20 years is the limit.
Statute of limitations.
Yes, and thereafter, except murder or some very few offences, others are prescribed. You cannot
So it's 20 years.
28 will be the limit, but you know, we have enough of scams from 2015 up to date, so we'll be giving priority for those first.
Right. Okay. But if you can go up to 20 years,
Certainly,
perhaps you should before those initial years run out. But that might take a bigger team than than you have, and of course it's very difficult to figure out who to put in what role, and you certainly don't want to expand the number of people in government.
That also, yes, but that we have a set of public administration system is there, so we have to empower and enhance them, giving sufficient infrastructure facilities, so they are capable of handling it. What is required is guidance, and also what is required is not to disturb their function, and also ensure that if we are failing in certain areas, or if there are inefficiency is visible, then it is up to the executive, the ministers or the president to ensure that those are functioning smoothly. And if somebody sleeping over their position or just sitting on chair, not acting, those will be scrutinized and observed by the executive president and his office, and also ministers of cabinet. So there won't be any room for persons to find excuses and just sleep over their duties. Not only rights, you cannot sleep over their duties. You have to discharge your duties according to the expectation of people. And when you are appointed and you are not born, positions are not born, positions are legislatively laid down. So then there are four corners of that, number of sections. So your position with the Director General or Chairman or whatever, it is only one section. Other section says what type of thing that you ought to do, what type of thing that you cannot do, you are not empowered. So within the framework of that statute, you have to function. The people's democratic government is there for the purpose of ensuring that, and represent the people and controlling, not controlling or influencing, intimidating, but guiding.
Absolutely. And I'm afraid we are out of time. Mr. J.M. Wijebandara, Director General Legal at the Presidential Secretariat. Thank you very much for taking the time off what is now an extremely busy schedule, I'm sure. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. It is a great pleasure to be here with you. Thank you.
And thank you very much to our viewers for watching. Don't go away. The news is coming up next. Have a good evening.